The grace of God protected Paul, and the foolish oath that these people made would have drove them or taken them to death. As people every day we make vows, and sometimes we don't even realise the vows we make. When you go shopping, you use a credit card. And really, what are you saying to the shopkeeper? And what are you saying to the bank? I use this card to purchase an item, and I am vowing or I am promising that I will pay that back to the bank. Most of us here may have home loans, or we've entered into leases, and we make a pledge that we will pay back the money that has been lent to us, or that we agreed upon to pay, in order that we have a roof over our heads. We may borrow from a friend. I'm sure many of us have been to a friend and said, look, I'm a bit short. Are you able to lend me $5? I'll pay you back tomorrow. Tomorrow's payday. We make vows in marriage. We make oaths in court. We make promises at work. Somebody comes up to you at work and says, when will you have this done? I promise you, or I'll have this done by this time, or I will do this in this time frame. Kids with parents. How many kids here make a promise to their parents? If Mum, Dad, I want to go out, I'd like to do this, I'd like to go there. Have you done your room? Have you done this? Have you done your chores? Yes, I've done it. Or, look, I haven't had time to do it, but when I get back, I'll do it for you, Mum. I'll do it for you, Dad. That hour passes, that day passes. You walk in there as a parent, the bed's still not made. The lawn hasn't been mowed. The dishes haven't been washed. As parents to kids, the vows we make to our children. I promise I'll be there for you. I remember as a kid, my father promised that he would come to watch me play sport. I remember one time in all the time I played sport that he turned up. 5 minutes before the game ended, it was a hockey match. I used to play for Glebe, and that was the only time I ever remember him turning up. 5 minutes before the game finished. We would agree to do things, but it never eventuated. The trouble is, I learnt something from that. I did the same thing as an adult with my own children. Dad, can you come with us to this game? Dad, will you be with us at this certain point? Dad, can you come to church with us? We have a thing that we're doing as kids. Dad would say, yes, not a problem. But would Dad keep his vow? Never. Dad always had other issues or something more important that came up every single time. The things we do, the things we take in life that we use in a worldly life, we bring into the church. The only vow I would actually get somebody to hold, or the only vow I would keep, and this probably goes back to those that drink, but it's an Aussie tradition. When you're in a hotel and they have what they call a shout. Now, there's two different versions. When you go out with somebody might say, it's my shout to buy this meal. You might do that for your family. It's my shout, which means that you're going to pay for the family. There's no conditions. Eat what you want. I'll cover the debt. But when you have a group of men in a hotel and you enter into a shout, it's a totally different circumstance. I worked in a bank where drinking was a culture. It was a religion. back when I worked in the banking industry. And when a group of people, men, came together, and if there were 6 of us and you entered into a shout, you did not leave until you had bought your round of drinks for everybody. If you left, you still had to buy your round of drinks. I remember being in a group of men, and I noticed twice that this fellow would leave at this. He would be right at the end, always the last person, would leave at the second last round of drinks. My train will be here soon. I'm meeting my wife. I've got to be home for tea. I'll go. And he would walk off. And I'd only just got into this group, and by the second time I said, how often does this fella do this? They said, every time he's in a shout, he does it. I said, well, what have you said to him? Nothing. We just don't want to get into an argument. Third time, I remember him walking out. Same thing went through, and he got up to leave, and as he left, I walked with him to the door. I grabbed him by the shoulder, turned him around, and I said to him, look, I don't want to be rude, but really, you're not walking out of this hotel until you come back in and you buy all of us your shout. And he said, look, I can't. He said, I've got to make a train. And I gave him some ultimatums, and he bought the shout. But the thing was, it's not the idea of that, but he had made a pledge. 3 times. Every time he was making a pledge, every time he would break it. There had to be consequences for his action. That's the way you think. I was brought up that a man's word was a man's word. And here is a man, he's going out and doing directly the opposite. And after you've had 4 or 5 beers, you start to get very cranky. Why should you go? You've just forked out your money. Why should you miss out? So I forced him to come back. The moral of the story is, from that day forward, he never got into a shout. He bought his own beer, and he would leave when he was ready. I'm not here to promote drinking either, but I'm giving you an example of how we treat things. People exchange labour for value, for something of value. My hands, I'm like Tim the tool man. These hands really are useless in regards to making anything. And we would have friends come over, or blokes, and I would vow that if they could do something for me, I would labour for them. So when a group of young people at that particular time, we had friends that we were buying houses, we needed gardens done, we needed electricity put in, we had electricians as friends and all that. All I could say to them was, if you come round, I pledge that I'll go to your house when you get a 40 tonne of dirt or whatever, and I'll help you move that dirt. And I would be there the same as they would be there, and it was a pact that we had together. I remember as a child that my grandparents would tell me of the debtor's jail. If you didn't pay your debt, you'd end up in jail. We don't have that now because probably it'd be overcrowded like our normal system is. But for those that are of age, there was a debtor's jail. England, before Australia was colonised, was full of debtors. The debtor's jail was absolutely chock-a-block because people could not pay their debts. The Bible covers many instances of vows and pledges. In Numbers 30, the whole of the chapter is devoted, or it's actually titled, The Law Concerning Vows. Numbers chapter 30. And in verse 1 and 2 it says, Then Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, This is the thing which the Lord has commanded. If a man makes a vow to the Lord